Good morning. We just completed the monthly service of April. We all give thanks and try and joy to God the Parent and Foundress in our prayer for all today. I was assigned to deliver the sermon today by the Bishop, Reverend Itafukaya. Please bear with me and lend me your kind attention. Well, I'd like to start off by saying that I've been a minister for half of my life, and hopefully there is a next successor in my position and take over my church. First off, before I became a minister, I was the son of the fourth hymn minister, and I had no thoughts of taking over my father's church before. But I was told by other hymn ministers in other churches that I was the eldest son and had to take over. I didn't know if anyone like myself, as an elder son, and ever told to be taken over. I thought, even though I was the so-called eldest son or successor, it didn't faze me at all. At 30 years of age, I noticed things happening around me while I was getting older. One day, I was at the monthly service here at Tenrikyo. That was when Bishop Reverend Itakura visited me to partake in Hinokshin at the Overseas Mission Department in Tendi for 1 year. With our nationality in a group, I never heard of such Hinokshin at the Overseas Department before. I thought, why not try something different in my life? So I happened to mention to my parents, and I would like to try this volunteer work at the Overseas Department in Tendi for a year. When my mother heard about what I was going to do, she panicked and worried about for a whole day. And she even asked my father if it is all right for me to volunteer there. Well, my father says, it's okay, he said. It's good for him to try a new experience and a chance of a lifetime. I didn't hesitate at all because I wanted to go so badly. That would be my 5th time at Ojiba and was my very first time at Overseas Mission Department. My Tsumisho staff employee and I instructed to partake in a Hinokshin daily. We read the Ofurisaki every morning, and all the staff members of the Overseas Mission Department. Basically, it was all Hinokshin volunteer work and basic Japanese schooling with reading and writing. And I also learned how to prepare for the monthly service and finally, how to perform all musical instruments at my church. After half a year has passed, my friends and I, and also the main staff leaders, will visit many grand churches around Tendi. At that time, my mind has started to change a little as the year of my Hinokshin activity at the Overseas Mission Department was coming to an end. As the day came to close, all my friends and I were told to continue to do Hinokshin and make it part of our life and for our heart. Again, I didn't know what that meant, but my later life, I know that I was still doing Hinokshin daily. After I returned back to my Tsumisho, I ponder how much I enjoy staying at Ojiba and was not ready to return home to America. After I finished my duty at the Overseas Mission Department, my number one goal was to focus on Hinokshin, and since I accomplished that goal, my next goal was to focus on becoming a new hymn minister. I felt I wanted to stay at Ojiba for just a little longer and perform Hinokshin at the Tsumisho. I thought it might be a great idea to stay in Japan. I think it was God's parents telling me how to operate my church in a proper way, no shortcut. In doing so, the Tsumisho head staff minister asked me if I was willing to perform more hinokushin there, and I said yes. So he said, I will let you know. Later, the staff member at the Tsumisho says, yes, but there is one thing. You have to return to your grand church as a seinen. At first, I did not understand what seinen hinokushin was until one of my friends mentioned that I had to perform tasks at the grand church daily, such as getting up early, doing shinden cleaning, otefuri, niogake during the day, and reading the ofurasaki in front of all staff members at Daikyokai. As my year ended at Tsumisho, I agreed that I would do my best at Daikyokai as a seinen doing Young Men Association hinokushin daily. My regular duty at the Grand Church and my main subject was to practice otefuri while I am at Daikyokai. I had all the time in the world because I didn't have nothing else to do in my free time. So this gave me a chance and began practicing otefuri in the evening where there was no one inside in the open room. This really helped me prove that I could perform the service at my own church without anyone's help. As I improved my otefuri during dance every night, I finally accomplished learning all 12 chapters. It was a great feeling knowing that I had help from someone there to get me through learning the otefuri and believing that it must be the foundress since I agreed to return to my Daikyokai. Now my shoulder has been lifted and also my life has changed as well. So after that period of 2 years at Daikyokai as a seinen, it was time to return back to the mainland and slowly start taking over my father's church. My mentor, who helped me through all the teachings and operating at the church, told me to keep your skills and what you learn, be kind and help others. Do not complain, and be sincere to others, then your life will be joy. Remember that from the heart of Reverend Hiroshi Moriya. He was the greatest mentor of my life, and I will never forget him. So I came back here to the mainland, and I was helping my father and his church for a year or two. I decided to tell my father when he was in his mid-70s that I wished to take over his church. He was shocked. I mean, by looking at him, he was shocked. It was as if I took his church and power away from him. He did not answer back right away. It took about a week or two, and my parents discussed each other and decided that it was time to change over. I decided to discuss with my siblings, and also there were no answer from my brothers or sister. I've been doing and running my own church for the past 26 years, doing Sasuke, performing Hinokushin and Niogake. Now I'd like to get back to the way it was before the pandemic started. The most difficult task I've had were 2 friends from my upper church and had very bad illness. First one had a heart attack. He was at his son's sports game, and there he was cheering for his son and collapsed, holding his chest. He was immediately rushed to the hospital, and once I hurried down to the hospital as soon as I could. When I arrived at the church, I started to perform osasuke for him. It was many nights until he recovered and he had to stay at a rehab center. There is a verse in Ofurasaki chapter 1, verse 31-38. It talks about an illness of the leg, but actually can be also about illness anywhere on the body. Quote, What is the cause of my regret this far? The lameness of your leg is my prime regret. You are saying that your leg is affected by illness. It is not an illness, but the anger of God. My anger is not a small matter. It is a result and cause accumulated and piled up. To say why it is not I'm angered, it is because the wrongdoing has not been removed. Unless this wrongdoing is completely removed, know that it will stand in the way of construction. No matter how stubborn this wrongdoing may be, it will be removed by acknowledgement of God. This wrongdoing is completely cleared away. The lameness of your leg also will be cleared away. If your leg may be completely well, nothing will remain but to prepare for the construction. As we Yoboku, followers of God the Parent's teaching, God says all human bodies are things lent by Skihi. If this truth is known all over the world, no one will remain selfish or greedy. Chapter 6, verse 121, Ufurasaki. In fact, my friend recovered completely, and he is trying his best to take over in the monthly service at my church. A year later, another friend was ill and with a stage 4 cancer, and he happened to be a relative of my friend who had a heart attack. After my work shift, I would head to the hospital, which was near my work, and perform sasuke. After I finished performing sasuke, I will return home to my church and perform 12 chapters of Otefuri every night. The reason I do Otefuri now is in the past, my father used to do that. When he returned to our church, he would perform all 12 chapters and would perform sasuke to any person he had to. He would come home and do Otefuri every night, and I would ask my mother, why is he doing all 12 chapters? She would say, he is asking God the Parent for help for an ill patient to get well. She also says that this tradition went back to my grandfather and the first head minister of my church. So she told me to do this the same thing as I find someone to save, and do not break the promise. My friend passed away for rebirth, and it hit me hard to see a friend passed away for rebirth at such an early age. In conclusion, let me read from the Shimbatsu Sama Instruction 4, where he quotes from Osama's quote. She encouraged those around her by saying that whatever happened is God's arrangement for guiding people to spiritual maturity. Further, we are taught, through seeing others, you will be saved. Thank you very much.